going to dive into the world of the top 4 deck list out of this YCS and see why these decks actually overcame and changed the game as we know it today. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more awesome content. So your winning deck list here, the top 4 was all provided by Konami. Thank you for that, by the way. I actually like when, they actually post deck lists, and I wish they would do this for the entirety of top 32, but for whatever reason, they just opt not to anymore. So first of all, the DDD package has become something that has been very standardized as of this point in time because it's a free big monster that you get to bring on out, and guess what? You get to start expediting the process into the power cards that be in your extra deck. I think a lot of people kind of underestimate this little line of extra play, because this is something that the OCG never explored. This is definitely strictly TCG player mentality here. Oh, pre-Dark Contract? Okay, well, I can go ahead and toggle into, little Requiem here, and all of a sudden, I have this incredibly huge extra summon that isn't going to get punished because, I might be Fiend-locked or something along, the combo line. That's kind of interesting to see be explored here. Now, something else here that I have not seen hardly anybody playing was actually Wailing of the Unchained Soul. If you would link summon an Unchained Link monster, you can target one card on the field, destroy it, and if that card is destroyed, and special summon an Unchained monster from your deck. This is not really something that up to this point has really been played, and Jesse did play this as a 1-up. And I think that's actually kind of cool to actually see, players actually, trying this. And then, of course, the biggest tech out of the entire weekend was Marionette Might. Like, this blew people's minds wide open that why would you play this old card? Discard this card to the graveyard and target one fiend or zombie monster your opponent controls. Take control of it till the end of the turn. So there's no restriction on the thing I take. I can take my opponent's Yema. I can now trigger all of its effects as long as they haven't, met the requirements. And then, of course, I can exceed with it. I can link it off. I can do whatever I want to it. And that's actually pretty incredible. I think a lot of people are definitely going to be trying this now. I do think this might have been one of the more event exclusive cards. Like, the time to play this was this event. This was the one time that you would have got the best maximum value off of this. Now, keep in mind, we're also not playing the little blue Unchained monster. I believe it's the level 8, the dog, in this build. That was something that we've seen a lot of other people playing. It does kind of feel like it does clog down the decks at certain points in time, so I can understand why people might want to kind of push away from that at the end of the day. Also, a big ol' shout out here to Tour Guide. The Unchained group has been up in arms for weeks here, going, well, I don't think you need to play, Tour Guide from the Underworld in this deck. It just doesn't feel like it necessarily contributes to the factors of what the deck actually wants to do. No, you do play this card. There's a reason why this is the hardest. And it mind boggles me that people are like, oh, well, maybe you don't want to play. Why would you not want to play the best starter that your deck actually has going for it? That is what boggles my mind at the end of the day. And I guarantee you're going to see comments over the next couple days going, well, just because Jesse Cotton won the event with Unchained doesn't mean that we should play Tour Guide, guys. We shouldn't be, giant sheeps. Please understand how to play this game. Results will always be dominant. Alright, and then the last little thing on this list is the inclusion of the triple Book of Eclipse over something like Book of Moon. The big handling of a larger field is always going to be something that will matter over something like Book of Moon. So good stuff. Now, our second place list, you are going to notice a couple of changes here. You are going to notice that we are packing in the 5 books. There's nothing wrong with this, all right? Just full disclaimer here, you can get away with the large amount of books, all right? They are going to be able to do your thing. I mean, second place, Jesse had the tech choice, which was the Marionette, to kind of overcome the mirror match a little bit. So maybe with that in consideration, the books would typically help out. Now, this build does play the triple Fenrir here, which does matter a little bit. Spot removal on swing is so good. And this is actually where you do see the Unchained Soul Soul of Disaster here actually seeing play. Jesse just opted not to play this. I think the card is still good. It's just sometimes it can feel like it's a brick. And once again, it comes down to tech choices and how you want to build things. And we also have Anti-Spell Fragrance down here as well. Look at how many spells there are actually seeing play here in this deck. So a well-timed Anti-Spell Fragrance actually can take away that victory from your opponent. I know a lot of people have looked at this card over the last couple of sets and have been like, it might not be as good right now because, you have all the chain ability in the world, but, if you flip this and your opponent can't fire a book because, you're on a link board, that seems like it might actually be, the larger play here. Also, shout out to playing the one Herald of Abyss to stop, purely at the end of the day. All right, our third place list here. I feel like these lists are getting smaller and smaller, and what a lot of people would consider more figured out. Once again, you do see the Unchained Soul of Disaster here, seeing play, which is fine. You see 6 books this time, which is, once again, fine. We're seeing that consistent redial approach back to this. You do still see all 3 builds were playing the DDD package. This is what I feel like is an absolute must at this point in time. If you're trying to play this deck, I think you're going to kind of get forced into this. We do see the thrust with the talents. This is also, thank you, format. I love the fact that I'm kind of forced to play this at certain points. You did see that the other builds, though, weren't necessarily kind of relying on this. Now, if you're playing Unchained Mirror matches all day, then, it's going to, how much value can you actually get off of this? Now, like Jesse, who was playing the Marionette Might, I do see that this build was exploring the Change of Heart and the Mind Control here as well. So that means that if the opponent's doing anything that you're going to look at is, problematic, I'll just call that over to your field. Oh, hey, you left me a nice little monster that I can use to just feed on into my Yama or, one of these other power cards here. Thanks, friend. I'll go ahead and just take my victory lap at this point. So you have 3 different builds of Unchained that all have different ideas and things, and they all got 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. I think their results are worth looking at the end of the day for that. All right. Hi, Purely. How are you? We're on 4 books this time, which I think the 4 books is perfectly fine, all right? Don't get me wrong. I think that trying to play 6 in Purely is going to mess you up a lot. You are going to run into some very clunky issues, and that's not something that you really want to deal with, all right? Purely's already got enough issues, and if you're just bulking down on additional outs, it's not really worth it. Big shout out here to Crossout Designator, though. This card still helps this deck out of its craziest situations. Now, I do see that we are playing Grave of the Super Ancient Organism. Everybody is so sick of dealing with Kashtira at this point. So they're kind of forced to look around and try different options here. And, this card just says no to the terrible, terrible, agonizing pain that you have to go through with that matchup. Perfectly understandable. Have a nice day. Outside of that, I don't see anything too crazy about this list. A lot of the things with Purely at this point is I feel like a lot of the deck has been explored. I think a lot of people have the ideas down. I think with that in mind, we'll have to wait and see how the next ban list treats this deck, because things can only get worse for this, right? And of course, we have, oh boy, somebody played Tackle Crusader. Yes! It has been 100 years since we saw this tech come out of Japan in the Unchained Labyrinth build, and somebody brought it to a YCS and said, you know what? We're going to do this. And remember, if it's sent to the graveyard, all right, doesn't matter how, you can apply one of these effects. You target one face of monster your opponent controls, change it to face down defense position, or you can target a face up spell trap card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. This turn, your opponent can activate cards effects with the same card name as the card returned to the hand by this effect for the secondary. But Tackle Crusader, this is so hilarious to see. You can thank all of your little discard outlets to dump this. We're playing the extras for the draw power. This is so cute. And, of course, we have the Mini Ishizu package down here, actually kind of carrying along some weight with it as well. And, of course, shout out to good old Phantasme here as well. So I feel like everything that you have been pretty used to seeing in the meta, or what you kind of were expecting if you paid attention to things over the last week, were all pretty apparent for this. Though I'm so happy to actually see Tackle Crusader back at it. So please, Leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.